There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
They're over 20 years old now, but they stand up. I just rewatched Foreman more after you sent me the link.
George Foreman also had something to prove. As a young man, Foreman was regarded as one of the sport's most brutal contenders.
He's not normal. He was never normal.
Frazier has never taken this kind of punishment, and it goes down at the bell.
When he hit Joe Frazier, I thought the world was coming to an end.
Down it goes. It goes down again.
That George Foreman intimidated the hell out of a lot of opponents. He would just come in, growl, throw punches, and go home.
George was once as feral a figure or as demonic a figure as Mike Tyson. Easy.
George was kind of a freak. George was unusual. George was one of a kind.
If you could survive 1 or 2 rounds with me, which would be a lot of pain and probably a lot of heartbreak in your life, because not only could I hurt you for those few rounds, 2 or 3 rounds in my previous career, I could really do damage to your body physically and your brain.
And it brings back
beautiful memories, isn't it?
Beautiful memories of working on the show. But really, Rob, we were talking off camera the night that Foreman beat Moorer. If you're a fan, a sports fan, you know where you were, and I know where I was. And I remember those feelings that I'll never forget. And it was like a dream when it happened. Hollywood writes scripts. Rocky was a script. Rocky becomes heavyweight champion, but this was real. Michael Moorer didn't get up, and George Foreman was 45, and he became heavyweight champion.
Foreman looked to become the oldest heavyweight champion in boxing history. But despite the optimism of the crowd, few gave Foreman more than a puncher's chance.
At that point, I just thought that middle-aged men don't knock out 25-year-old heavyweight champions.
I'm the boss man in here. Take hands, good luck.
Left and a right inside by Moore. Sizzling. Solid left hand over the top, backing Foreman up again. Sharp right by Moore, who seems to be gaining confidence.
I like that he was starting to feel good about being champ and feel confident and trying to fulfill what everyone said he wasn't.
Teddy might have created a monster.
It's just a guy. Our sparring partners were better.
Teddy always knew that instilling confidence in Michael was one of the keys to getting him to perform at a certain level.
I have a sense here, Gil, that Moore feels as though he has felt Foreman's power and it's not going to hurt him. That could be a big mistake.
I had no intention of throwing out my power at him in the first, second, and third round.
He didn't have control over the fight. He didn't have control over me.
And my intentions were to extend him and make certain that when I hit him with one shot, he would not get up.
And there's no reason for you to stand there and let him find you.
George with a strong start in round 5. Moore is still standing right in front of him.
Big right hand. That's the best right hand of the fight by George Foreman.
I never could understand why he was being so courageous, standing in front of a big man like that.
Moore allowing Foreman to land, and the big man is getting off to good effect in round 6. I don't think we've seen him yet follow Atlas's instructions to move away and put more distance between himself and George.
Listen to me, you're not going to have a real friendly corner. I'm proud of you, but you're not going to have a friendly corner if you keep letting him go slow. All right? You're going to make him go faster?
I thought I was doing fine, but he's on the outside looking in. I can't see what he sees. He can't see what I see.
Harold Letterman, how do you see it so far?
Jim, 6 rounds to 1, commanding 5-point lead for Michael Moorer.
So I can perfectly understand how if Teddy was saying do this, do that, between rounds 4, 5, and 6, and 7, Michael was thinking, why do I need to listen to anything? Everything I do is working.
What people don't remember is up until the 10th round, Michael fought the best fight of his career. I mean, he was tremendous that night.
I think he was brilliant for the first 9 rounds.
He was doing everything right, but I was doing something he had not prepared for.
You can see Foreman loading up with that right hand. I'm surprised that Moore couldn't see it.
How can you say he was setting me up for a 1-2?
I don't think Teddy Atlas and those trainers knew exactly what I was doing.
That's bullshit. Totally.
What's not bullshit is that George knew his best chance to hit you was with a blind punch you wouldn't see.
At the end of the last round, I thought Michael Moore had found the key. He was moving to his right, and he was really picking George apart. He comes out this round, and he goes right back to his left again.
Michael Moore was falling into a trap.
There was a case where George set him up with that right hand, but just couldn't pull the trigger. That's those slow reflexes.
I think the myth of George's power has been exposed by Michael Moore so far.
He was swollen up. He was losing. He was starting to wonder whether or not he was going to pull it off.
And George makes it out of the round that bedeviled him in Zaire 20 years ago.
I fought Muhammad Ali in Africa, and I know what it felt when he got in the ring and everyone was cheering for him. I could hurt him, but the crowd just kept him on his feet. Now, for the first time in my life, I was feeling the same thing.
Here was a guy that was clearly on a mission in his own life. You just knew you were dealing with something that mentally was a little different.
Foreman's strategy was not simply to land one punch, but rather a series of punches to set up what would most likely be his last shot to make history.
I was able to get a body punch in, just one body shot.
He threw that left just to move this guy. I got to get him to move this way. If he moves this way, I'm not going to be able to land this punch.
I would hurt them. I'd use the old cattle tactics.
So he was calm. He had the ability to think like that.
I knew then if I knocked him down once, he would have to stay down.
Win or lose, George is going to have a left eye swollen shut tonight.
George's best punch is still that left jab.
And my jab was going to be the most important punch in the boxing match.
He'd still snap a left jab out, but not do much else.
He says, don't worry, Mike, I'm an old man. Don't worry about that. And you stand there. And then all of a sudden, boom, bing, there's a right hand right behind it.
Don't stay there because he's looking to set you up one shot, and then he'll open up a combination so he hits you.
The irony of this fight is both simple and complex. With 9 minutes left and ahead on all judges' cards by a large margin, all Michael Moore had to do was stay away. Instead, he fought like a heavyweight champion.
Right hand landed there. And another. And a right and a left, and suddenly Moore stops punching, and it's Foreman's initiative.
The first punch I hit him with was the straight right. It was just a little too high. He didn't move out of the way because he was kind of stunned.
And Moore later told me that he was basically out on his feet before the last 1-2.
I expected him to fall. It didn't. And I said right then I was going to lower it just a little bit.
Down goes Moore on a right hand. An unbelievably close-in right hand shot. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It happened. It happened.
I think that George has advanced ring intelligence.
I had this all playing out for the previous 3 months.
Bullshit. Don't fake it. You got lucky. Don't sit there and say you planned it. By no means.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
I was crushing him for 10 rounds.
Nobody had any idea that I was setting this fight up all night.
I don't have no bad feelings against George, but don't say that you set this up, because you're lying then. You're lying.
And Michael Moore is
Down goes Moore on a right hand. An unbelievably close-in.
He never saw it coming. Everything disconnected.
My body was completely dead.
And it was devastating.
5, 6,
This was a chance for him to grow.
7, 8,
If he got through it, who knows what would have been in front of him.
9, 10.
But we didn't quite get there.
It was an unbelievable achievement, but I have to tell you that my face was not on George. My heart was with Michael Moore on the mat.
I respect the fact that he came in there to fight. And in the 10th round, 45 years old, he still had the power to knock me out.
Well, there's a sports Emmy right behind my head somewhere that's from that show. I helped to come up with that idea. I was only a production assistant back then. I helped to come up with the idea. It was coming up on it might have been 30 years of boxing or 40 years of boxing on HBO, and I said we should do something special instead of short little segments. let's do something special on some of the great fights. So we picked 12 fights and did 12 shows, and they were incredible. And I got to work on every single one of them. The main ones I worked on were Tyson and Douglas, Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas, and Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis. And the ironic thing is that I was always pushing for HBO to do more of these Legendary Nights shows. And by the time I was a production assistant on this first round, in a few years I became a producer. We were going to do another round of Legendary Nights, and among the shows was going to be Holyfield versus Foreman, and I was going to produce that. And for budgetary reasons or whatever, we didn't do it, and it was always it was a layup. It was something that we should have done. We didn't, but at least we got this first one done. The process, it took about a year, and we literally had a team of people. We weren't even in the HBO building. They moved us to another building downtown in New York. It was completely separate, and we worked on these for a year.
I lose the title in Zaire, and that wasn't the best of me. There I'm on the canvas, I try to beat the count. I had all kind of excuses, but it was a hard thing, and it had been a hard thing to live down, that you are the heavyweight champ of the world, yet you don't have the title. For years, I had to live with that.
I saw George at a function here a few months back, and they showed the tape of him knocking me out, and I said a few words. I says, just think, if I'd have ducked one more time, we'd be sounding like Michael Moore girls instead of George Foreman girls.
Somebody once asked me if is George Foreman winning the heavyweight title at age 45 tougher than Jack Nicklaus winning the Masters at age 46. And as much as I love Jack Nicklaus, nobody was hitting Jack Nicklaus. Michael Moore was still punching George Foreman.
And once again, heavyweight champion of the world, Big George Foreman.
Michael Moore later recaptured a heavyweight belt, but lost it to Evander Holyfield. George Foreman had never openly sought specific redemption for his demise against Ali in Zaire, but it's revealing that he chose to wear the same trunks on this night that he had worn in the jungle 20 years before. His triumph was trumpeted in headlines, but it spoke even louder in the fine print of endorsement contracts, which earned him hundreds of millions of dollars. Call it the biggest purse in the history of prize fighting. Thanks for watching The Tale of Foreman Moore.
This has been a presentation of HBO Sports, the network of champions.